to be an ongoing process that's going to be happening for quite some time. And I think what happens at that point then is the question is, what are going to go into those properties? How what sort of functions, what sort of staffing, all those kind of things. There's going to be a lot of questions and issues to address as part and parcel of that process. What we looked at, though, is one thing is that how to address, as we mentioned, the entry at the front. One of the things we thought about was looking at creating a drop-off zone in the front area here that is a designated drop-off zone that's articulated that people can come through, they can do, because you need drop-off.
Yeah.
However, we can't do a typical drop-off where you cut into the sidewalk and all that kind of thing here. So we're basically going to be about in the parking zone in the street and create an area that's going to occur so the traffic can go by. You have a drop-off. We'd love to be able to put some trees and things there, but again, we're a little constrained on your site. But I think this would help a little bit in the front to deal with those issues of people getting in and out, and also it would be easy then for security to deal with people trying to park there, as I see them do it out front all the time and waiting. And so that's probably the one thing that we're going to be doing here. There's not a lot else that we can do in terms of design and redo the existing building, because I think you guys are all intact here.
And for the short-term projects,
Can I just say, I'm sorry, one quick thing about the drop-off zone?
Yes.
Well, it looks lovely, and I'm sure it'll be wonderful, but can we have a guarantee that the construction of that will happen when classes are not in session? Between semesters or something like that?
This is simple enough so we probably can do that.
what I was going to mention is the multimedia project is going to be the first among the short-term projects that are underway. As a matter of fact, the bid for that is gone out to the streets right now, and we're expecting the bids to come in on March 10th, and we're going to be placing an item on the board agenda to be able to have a placeholder, because there's no time. You need this building by the end of May, so work has to begin almost right away as that process is going forward. Okay.
What does that include, just overall?
That is for the multimedia only.
It's the video layout.
Okay.
Yes. The experts here can explain it, but we've worked on it for like 7 months.
Another question about neighborhood centers and other sites. I know we've talked about parking facilities as a possible revenue source, but as we go out and plan for the long term, is it possible to factor in that we could combine income and classrooms? In other words, if we build another building, we could have retail, like let's say on the bottom, so that we can get income, and also where we can hire. I mean, City College of San Francisco, downtown San Francisco has something like that, where they have a cafe down there, so the rents, and the college gets money from the rental.
Yes, we're planning that for every campus, wherever we can find it.
Okay.
Especially, like for instance, at Lenny College, the parking structure we're trying to do is a retail area that we're also planning to go in there. We're looking for various sources of having discretionary fund that the college could be able to access and use and not have to wait for GP budget all the time. Yes?
Going back to the exterior of the building, has there been any design or discussion about the marble that's all marred?
Yes.
Skateboarder.
Yeah.
No, see, that is a recent phenomenon of you build a building and open it in 2006, and some of your folks take skateboard and begin to skate on the side. We're going to find a way to be able to work it such that the corrosion doesn't take place with the type of material that could be used. So I have been discussing that with the architect who actually designed this building, McMason, about what we can do to be able to mitigate against that. Yes?
Real quickly, is the 194,000, is that assignable or gross?
Assignable.
That's assignable. Okay, so
It's a lot more space, gross.
And have you taken into consideration the space that we use at UC Berkeley for evening classes?
No, and that's because the only spaces that count for your use is if you have exclusive access.
I see.
So that's actually advantageous space. If you can use space that someone else owns, that's always good for the college.
And the other piece would be, the other piece that you also want to look at too is contract ed, where you'll be able to deliver instructions in somebody else's premises and get credit for it. But at some point, as we begin to get more buildings and more space, then that is something we want to be able to do in-house, because not every organization has space for contract ed.
Contract ed is more of a staffing issue rather than a facilities issue.
Yes.
One of the things that we would like to do as a revenue stream is that, and also build partnerships with the community, is for them to use our space and for us to charge them.
Yes.
However, we're limited by some rules about that revenue.
We're working on that.
Yeah, so the district is working right now to have what you call new facility use policy, because the one we had before came into being before this college was built. So we're going to revamp the facility use so that the revenue coming out from there will be able to benefit the college.
Right.
And this range from like your auditorium downstairs to the Berkeley College soccer field, so everywhere. So that is being done right now. There is a meeting of the business managers that are called to begin that process.
I have a question about growth, and it goes back to the 3.5 average that was projected out to 2022. The reality is that each year we're given different growth goals. Each semester we're given different growth goals. I mean, it's not just us, it's every college in the Peralta district. So how can that 3.5 figure be put in there when, let's say, 1 year, we might have a growth goal at BCC of 10%. And it's not in the planning process. If the college were able to plan out and say, yes, our growth goal over time through the year 2022 is 3.5%, but that doesn't necessarily reflect reality. What happens is that we get a different growth goal every semester or every year. So how can that reconcile itself?
Because, it's a great question. And the fact is, we are not saying you're going to grow in a straight line. You won't. But you will have peaks and you'll have valleys, frankly, over the next 15 years.
But we've always grown over 3.5% a semester. I mean, this has always been, even before we were in this building, this has always been, we've always done above a 3.5%.
And the bottom line is, your mission now is to try to find 190,000 assignable square feet down the road. If in 5 years you revisit this plan, or 3 years, or 8 years, and find that you're growing at a far greater rate, great. You're going to have to find more space. Wonderful. I mean, you're serving more students. But the fact, our professional judgment, and McIntyre's as well, was that given very, very little population growth, as you know, I mean, the population doesn't grow here, it's full. But you're right. So it's a best guess, and you've got a very ambitious goal to meet already. And if you grow faster, wonderful. And
one of the problems we've got, if I can interject here, is that the growth figures are not rational. Okay, they come out of the state, and they're driven by the amount of monies the politicians are willing to provide for growth.
That's correct.
So they don't reflect the real world, and that's a source of considerable heartburn to a lot of us. But we live in this environment with the idea that our community colleges are open to anybody and everybody that can benefit, when in fact that's not true.
Yes, we do.
That absolutely is not true. I mean, we're financially capped.
That's true.
So I don't know that I would write too much into this. That's got to change, by the way. I think one of the benefits, if you will, of the economy crashing here and realizing what we have to do to move back up in this globalized world, we've got to put more into education.
Right.
And that's going to get across. And I think that sometimes one of the benefits of a crisis is that you, it's like a 2x4 upside somebody's head. That you get their attention and they start taking things aboard better. So I don't know that, as I say, I would write too much on that 3.5 because it's, quite frankly, it's a political thing.
So it depends. See, the state some years might say, okay, we're not going to fund any growth. Some years they're going to fund growth. So it depends on what the objectives are for the state. to fund this growth. We determine how much we drive to